In this episode, I want to talk a little bit about the transparency, and similar to the reflectivity, we have the same problem here. We can't get this with a one-shot photography done. It's not possible. And to be honest, when we talk about reflectivity, that's pretty simple compared to transparency. And so I can't deliver here just an easy fix for that, or just an instruction, do this or that. What we have to do here is really to think things through. And when we go here just to the projection position, then everything looks very nice. And you see here where the picture was or ends, and we see everything through the glass. That looks maybe nice because it's exactly as it was, and we don't see any problems with it, as long as we have exactly the position of the projecting camera. If we don't move anything, just for a still, that's perfect when we want to place maybe some stuff in an image. In the moment we start moving things around, or we change the point of view from the camera that we use for the rendering, we run into a problem. And that's pretty much when we switch to this position here. This little chair for children is already totally distorted here. And you see it here. Here it looks nearly okay. But the more we go away from the original perspective, the more it becomes distorted. The next problem is, of course, that anything that is in depth inside of the room here, exactly here, the chair, and if we could look a little bit deeper into that, then we would see even more. That is now exactly as it would be painted on that glass. Sounds familiar to the reflection? Yes, it is, because we have frozen or baked it exactly here to this area. And you see everything is flashing here. That's a new feature of release 14. Let's stop that for a moment. I put this here to a layer and stop the layer here, so it stops here also to flash always. And what we need to do here is to think a scene like this through, because in the moment you shoot these areas here, you might have an option to go inside or to shoot maybe a little bit more here, closer, to get an idea what's behind, because that needs all to be built. Anything that is in space, like these benches here, needs geometry, or you just have to paint it out. For example, one method, and that would be the cheapest way, is to extend the Venetian blinds just down. And then you have everything flat and nearly in the perspective or in the surface of the glass panes here. And the glass panes here itself are already described from the cube that we have, but inside of that room there's nothing. And that gives it away. We see here a big problem. So transparency is not able to be reproduced just from one image, even if we can see here behind everything, but the problem starts exactly behind the glass pane, or if there's no glass at all in it, that doesn't matter. It's the parallax that we have here and that we haven't solved based on a supportive geometry like these three cubes here. That gives me exactly the sign, the ceiling, and the facade here. This needs to be considered, and it's not a simple problem. I try always when I do something like that to have some curtains or Venetian blinds behind that, if possible. If not, you need to put little boxes, for example, for big facades behind it, and create something like little rooms out of that, which works nicely with Mocra, for example, to get a little bit of that feeling. Sometimes ceilings are already enough for office buildings. Inside of those buildings here, and you can see that here already in 3D, it's a very rough, small little preview here, but you might see already the effect. That is a texture that is nearly black, and it has only a fluorescent stripe on it, and it's a texture, repeated tile, so to say. And the whole ceiling follows, of course, the shape of that building when we would look from the top on it. And with Mocra, I have just multiplied these ceilings, and this is the whole effect. And so you have already an idea that you look into a building. have an eye on this area here. It moves now out, and so you get the idea there's some kind of life behind the walls. And this is of course also one part of the music video, where we would have here one billboard and the next billboard will be then here in the middle, where the band becomes then its editing cut, so to say. So very simple. It's always everything about parallax and reflection. And when you have an idea how much reflection you want to have, then you know already how much you would see finally from the inside. So both themes with the windows are very important to handle wisely. Not 100% reflection, not 0% reflection is the key. It's something between. And having said that, when we talk about illumination or luminance, and we talk about reflection and transparency, then keep in mind, whatever we will talk here in the series later on has maybe an idea as well in it, that we can use bump maps, that we can use displacement, that we can use whatever we have in our material channel inside of camera mapping. Very important, because that can save you a lot of time and create more realism finally. So that's just a very small preview here. And thanks for listening. See you in the next part.